We have a quorum. Agenda was properly posted. And item number 3, public's opportunity to speak. If anybody in the building or online would like to speak, now is your chance. Not hearing anybody. Move on to item 4, discuss and consider the minutes from the previous Public Works meeting on May 7th.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to number 5, unfinished business. Discuss and consider the bike and ped comprehensive plan. I will turn it over to Jean-Jacques.
That's where I missed that.
That's
too bad.
The draft bike ped plan is in the packet yet again. We do open to any suggestions or anything. We kind of looked over all the projects when we last met. Added a few pictures. Of course, looking back at it, I think maybe some of those can be cleaned up a little bit, but otherwise really just looking for anything more, any edits anyone has we want to add. I know, Chris, we had just talked a little bit about adding a piece about we will work to add basically bike racks to village facilities as appropriate, including parks and buildings. Other than that, any thoughts on it? And I have to get a nice cover photo, but.
I had a question about the interactive map tool,
Oh.
and I'm sure I've asked this before and you've answered it, I just can't remember. When someone submits one of those, is that something you have to go and actively check, or do you get like an email?
No, we have to go and actively check. We may be able to, now that we have a new director on board and we're still kind of feeling out what we want to do with GIS moving forward, we could maybe kickstart that in a different way and maybe set it up differently, but that's a week 5 discussion, maybe week 6, but
Are we going to get to it before the end of the week?
probably not this week, but that was a really valuable tool. I mean, that photo doesn't really do it justice, but that's where we learned where it's a really simple snapshot of where people's concerns were. It's just a bunch of pins in areas.
And is that still active, or is that something to help with the plan?
That helped. That was right at the onset of this plan originally, almost 2 years ago. We pushed that out a lot.
Okay. Is it still up, though?
It is, but it hasn't been advertised, so
Okay.
you'd have to basically go to one of our web page and
Okay.
through the website. But we can. It might almost be worth working with the GIS folks and cleaning it off and restarting, kind of grabbing this data but hiding it, because it is really full of certain intersections, and Vilas Road are full of pins, and people had a comment.
Any other comments or questions on the draft plan?
Just get rid of the draft on it.
Yeah, it looks great.
Is that a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the bike ped path with a brand new, nice photo in the front, as presented.
With the addition of bike racks?
Yes, with the edits Chris submitted.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further comments? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Moving on to number 6, new business. Discuss sidewalk installation around Trillium Trail and Dentaria Drive.
Am I on? Okay, I'm on now. Hi, guys. Director, week 5. Kyla's back.
Yeah, I should have introduced Kyla. I forgot we haven't met this committee for a few months. This is Kyla, you may remember when she was serving as village engineer a year ago and the years prior, and we got her back. How's that?
That was good.
What'd you get for making fun of my name?
Different capacity this time. As part of the Ridge Lift Station project that Strand is ongoing, am I able to share my screen? Perfect. Strand is looking at the future Ridge Lift Station that's going to be serving this eastern portion of the village, as well as future new development off of Ridge that has come through Plan Commission. One thing that has been being discussed as part of that, and this is more on the utility side, is the force main and sanitary sewer is going to come through on Trillium Trail and Dentera Drive. And as a part of that, Strand has brought to us if we are interested in putting sidewalk on the southern portion of both of those streets. At this point in time, you can see that there is sidewalk on the northern ends of both Trillium Trail and Dentera, and no sidewalk on the southern portion. There could be some trees, some different impacts, but it's kind of a discuss if this is something you guys would like to pursue, potentially pursue in terms of costs, and kind of closing that loop with the sidewalk. One thing to note, it is in front of Houston Park, and Houston Park is getting some upgrades as part of their parks project in the upcoming years, and we would look to connect to any path through the community park that they are doing.
So after reviewing the bike ped plan and then stepping into this item, that got my wheels spinning about, okay, if we're seriously looking at development further east of here and we want to be able to make it easy, comfortable, and accessible to get to one of our very utilized parks from the future, do we take this a step further, and does it need to be a bike path or multi-use path instead of just a sidewalk to allow a major, development, this major development as well as any additional development to the east to have that connectivity? And is there a way that this connects with something else down the road? I mean, it makes sense to me that maybe that connectivity is coming down Wellbridge Taylor, but if we're talking about doing it here, we should at least consider that as an option, especially on the park frontage. Maybe it gets more complicated once we're talking about Denteria, and I can understand that, but I would like to push for maybe the park frontage to be a full width path.
Could we take a, if interior is a little bit more tight, or for whatever reasons, because it looks like those houses are fairly close to the road, or at least some of them are. Is it better to transition to a bike lane on that particular thing? And
Right,
so
maybe it's a sidewalk and a bike lane combination, and that's where I was getting at, maybe just the path is on the park frontage only, and then we transition. But I think providing that connectivity, especially with the path, the Glacial Drumlin Trail right there, the number of people that get off on Heather on their bikes to go throughout the community at that point is significant, at least in what I've seen, the little bit that I use it.
That's what I
That
do.
is, and I don't think it was part of the concept presentation to Plan Commission, but along the lines of this conversation, really high-level concept the developers are talking about, but essentially lift station's gonna be roughly here with an interceptor main heading north. Their initial talks with us and their plans are to put a path over that for access to that interceptor, and then discussions about taking it all the way south and connecting to Glacial Drumlin. So a path right there to Houston Park, connecting right to that, makes an awful lot of sense. It'll be Ridge Road someday, maybe all the way up here to BB and onto the Glacial Drumlin.
And I'd be inclined to want to take this one step further as long as we're having this conversation. Do we talk about that bike, on-street bike lane, whatever you want to call it, for Heather, north and south, to get you from Taylor all the way to the Glacial Drumlin Trail? In theory, because I'd like to see a path along the school's property that's going to link further to the east, and that would be the direct conduit between the Glacial Drumlin Trail and that path up on Taylor. And I know that, those residences do park along there, and, I'd be interested in the street width and all the things that go along with that. Perhaps it can be shared, I don't know, but that's something that I think would be worthwhile for Strand to look at as long as they're looking at it for the rest of this.
Absolutely. I could definitely take that back. I know Heather is in our long-term plan to do some road rehab on it as well, so that aspect will be taken into consideration.
Yeah, if that's
as
something
well.
that's looking at resurfacing or chip sealing or whatever in the next couple of years, we can stripe it when we do that, that's fine, but at least we have it planned for and thought about ahead of time.
Absolutely.
And maybe we decide that if the trail north and south, right behind those lots, works out better for connectivity, that makes sense too. I haven't seen anything on that, so. If that's longer range, then maybe in the short term, we look at that on-street bike path on Heather.
Anyone else have any thoughts?
I think And on a separate bike path coming down Taylor to Heather to the glacial drumlin makes more sense than putting it on Trillium. I think the initial idea of maybe just the sidewalk would be sufficient. It's definitely that, you know, those residents trying to get to the glacial drumlin now walk on the street. Whether a bike path is needed there, I think it just doesn't connect fully to the rest of the system, and it may not just be needed, but I think a sidewalk is absolutely necessary. But yeah, I mean, if you had to think about larger plans, I think coming down Taylor to Heather as an actual bike path, that's a good alternative than going all the way down to the actual trailhead of Glacial Drumlin. So it gives you a couple options to go different routes. But as in the actual subdivision and the different roads, I don't think we need the off-street bike path.
And as we've talked about before, now that I was taking a closer look, driveway crossings aren't ideal with an off-street path, and there'd be a bunch here in a short stretch, so yeah, maybe.
Yep.
But I think I'm hearing we at least investigate sidewalk and/or some connectivity for sure as a part of this.
Yeah, and I'd want to consult with Sean because I know their focus on their parks is to increase the paths within the parks, so it might be a good fit for there.
Absolutely. I'll make sure to coordinate both those projects with Strand and Sean for the parks, especially along Houston Park with the project being under design as well.
There's that entrance, that little tunnel off the Glacial Drumlin to the park. Is there anything we could do about a path going through there, like to the park or through the park?
Want to talk to the railroad?
It's pretty sticky with DOT, that's for sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
We
said the
can't,
same
but
thing.
but we
when-
own the park, right? Like, how close could we get to it? I
Well,
mean, or
Let's see
not.
if we can,
I mean, I don't think we can do anything with the bridge. We're not going to mess with that, but
yep, the cattle pass underneath it. yeah.
So one thing that's used for is when hydrite, its containment area gets too full after a large rain event, they discharge through Hydrite Park, and there's a steady flow of water through there as well.
so you're saying it's unsafe and we should actually mark it off so people don't go through there? Or like, which, I mean,
Hey, we're
either,
good, just like we are.
At times there is standing water through there.
yeah, no, I've muddied many a shoe through there. I don't know, I thought it'd be a nice little path to go through there, but we're kind of in the middle ground now, I guess. Like, either we can make a path through there and it's a nice connector for residents to walk through, or it's just too dangerous, apparently, to promote people going through there.
Not necessarily dangerous, it's just wet shoes, a little bit low, a little bit narrow, steep-ish on the one side. We did bring it up, a UW student did a concept about connectivity and Houston Park potential concepts. And we brought it up to her, and she even said this is gonna be challenging, but something you can think about in the future, but just because of the connectivity to the Glacial Drumlin. But if the Interceptor one makes a nice, cleaner connection in a few years, it might be a nice second option.
And then, sorry, side question now. Do we own anything on West Ridge? Like when Taylor Street goes to Ridge? We own anything out there? That's a huge biking route. I don't know if I know there's bike lanes on Taylor now, but I didn't know if we could extend that out for however much we own.
Hopefully the developers that are coming with the concept will be what it might look like, but some widening, and
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
envisioning continuation of the bike lane at the least, because yeah, that is a
Cool.
well-traveled route.
Yeah.
Is that village property right now?
It's our
there?
right of way, we own that road, yep.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll move on to 6B, discuss Quarry Ridge Phase D development.
So Quarry Ridge, the next phase, one second, I'm trying to make sure I can share my screen. The next phase is coming through for up at Quarry Ridge Development, and pull up the right one. They have a couple areas. There's a portion of between village property and town property at the Quarry Ridge development near Matt Pass and Landmark Drive. There's a strip of town-owned property. As part of this project, the developer owns that strip of land, and we are looking to have it be dedicated back to the village as stormwater drainage easement, as they are using it for their stormwater quality. So to kind of give you a understanding of what that looks like, I can't see anything on my screen. They are putting, apologies, it was up. Not doing too swell here. First meeting, bear with me, sorry. I was prepared though. That's the funny part is like the map was up and so now I don't know where the map went. So this is the town parcel that we're talking about along the Quarry Ridge development. What we are proposing and what we have talked with both Strand and the developer is that there would be multiple parcels that are parceled off here. So you would have one parcel from where Matt Pass will connect to the east that will be dedicated to the village for a stormwater drainage. There will be a 66-foot parcel here that will be where Matt Pass will be connected in and it will be dedicated for road right of way. And then there will be another parcel here. These two will be combined. It will be dedicated for stormwater management and drainage easement. And then to clean it up, we will also have another dedicated road parcel for landmark as well to make that connection.
Is that piece to the, even further to the west, still part of the township as well?
That's
Yes.
Grams,
And does
right?
that stay connected to it along the back of Graham's?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So the village wouldn't take any dedication for this parcel here as it's not used for anything that we need of it as of this point in time. But all of these parcels will stay within town right of way as we can't island the two properties at this point in time. Any questions?
What you just said, they
Yep.
would stay in the town?
Get your mic on.
I'm sorry. They'd stay in the town?
Yes, so this entire length here is still town, and it would be dedicated to the village. Which would be very similar to like our Vilas lift station, where it's technically still in the town and it's dedicated
Oh, okay.
to the village.
I get you. And what does that look like as far as storm retention? Is it just a grassy area that overflow would flow in there and it's kind of dipped down a little bit?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, just a drainage area,
Okay.
very similar to like a swale type deal.
Yep, okay.
Any other questions or comments?
What's the, I guess, yeah, schedule-wise, what's the plan for Phase D?
They are currently in process of reviews right now and getting permits, looking to break ground later this fall.
Okay.
If there's nothing else, we'll move on to number 7, engineers report.
Variety of projects still going on in the village. We've got the Shady Grove. They are looking to do the final asphalt surface lift for Drumlin Ridge and a portion of Bus this week. West Lawn Estates is moving forward on their project. They've started utilities and they will be moving through this fall to get to asphalt. As I mentioned, Quarry Ridge Phase D is starting here later this fall. The Amazon facility north of the interstate, they submitted their final construction set and it has been reviewed and they're looking to start breaking ground later this fall as well. And we are currently in preliminary discussions with Alliant Energy regarding a potential location for their substation, potentially behind the Piggly Wiggly. In regards to the 2024 Streets project, they are moving forward. If you've been over near the Crawford Plat, you know all of the streets are currently been pulverized and they're looking forward on the EBS and base course placement as well as all of the utility manhole reconstructions. They are still working towards the completion date at the end of August of 2024. We do have, this parking lot has been completed before elections, so that was their big milestone. And both the Bonnie Ridge, the Bonnie and the MSB parking lots have been pulverized to continue moving forward with those parts of the project as well. Any questions on the engineer's reports?
You didn't mention this, but I think all the sidewalks upgrades are looking very nice. I really appreciate them, so thank you.
Absolutely, and there's more forthcoming yet this summer here.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll move on to number 8, Director's Report.
So with that, with the sidewalks, we've had our staff do some of the replacements that you've seen so far. Safe Step will be coming in over the next couple weeks and doing a variety of other ones in terms of sawing some of the lips down as well as replacing a variety of them. And then anything Safe Step doesn't complete, we're going to have public works staff do a couple more sections as well. I did just meet with Farner today about chip sealing a variety of streets, and I'm looking to get pricing back for that. We're looking at St. John Street, East North Lawn Drive, Corey Lane, up, which is over by the northeast part of town, and then we're looking at Vintage Lane and Carriage Drive, Vista Drive, which is also Carriage Drive, and Tanglewood Court. Depending on prices that come back, we're going to try to do as much as possible, but it's looking pretty good that we'll be able to do all of them.
That's this season yet?
Correct. Yep.
How long does chip sealing extend the life of a road?
Per Joe that I talked to today, it could be anywhere from 7 to 10 years. There is quite a bit of cracking on those, and I did talk with him today about it as well, if it's worth crack filling as well as chip sealing. And based on the amount of alligator cracks that are through there, he's like, it's not worth doing both. Nothing's popping up, so he felt pretty comfortable just doing chip sealing.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, next meeting, September 3rd work? Are we gonna be moving the village board meeting at all?
Yeah, we probably have to.
Are we gonna move it to,
We have too many things that are
yeah,
gonna collide right there, I think,
would we
with
move
budget.
that to this, would we move that to the next day then, or?
I don't know. It's gonna be up to the board, whoever's
Okay.
available. 'cause
Well, I guess we should ask, is there a lot on the agenda for next month's Public Works coming up?
Next month's will all be budget discussions.
Yeah.
So we will likely need to have that per Cameron.
Okay. I guess, does the 3rd work for everyone? Or should we
Well, the
move
3rd
it?
is when we're scheduled for right now. Is
Right.
that, I mean, sticking with that works, yes.
Yeah.
Will village board move to that day, or is it worth
No,
to look at the
If it's
10th?
claimed, village board's
Claimed?
gonna have to take something else. 'Cause Chris and I are. Yeah,
I
we'll
guess-
work around it.
Yeah, I guess we'll just plan on the 3rd for 6 o'clock
Okay.
next month.
The other thing, Chris, we'll probably have I don't know when we're gonna have the budget workshop, that might be in there too somewhere, so maybe that's something we do instead of the village board meeting, I don't know,
Okay,
but we'll figure it out.
all right. 10, future agenda items. Are we gonna talk about the Taylor Wheeled Bridge N crossing soon? I know Strand was working on it, but I haven't heard about it.
Yep, well, they're probably just starting right about now, so for sure, within the next meeting or two.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if Josh has said he'd had anything for the September, or the next meeting or not, but no. not yet.
I don't know if we've officially set them loose on that project yet.
We have, but they.
We have?
we
Oh,
have,
never
yes.
mind.
I don't know that we got the task order for sure. We told them to go ahead and start, but they basically said they weren't going to till later in the year because it's not super complex
Okay.
on their end. But future for sure, next 2 meetings.
Maybe
I
not,
would
no,
guess.
okay. Anything else?
The Alliance substation, is that what we talked about a long time ago, Joan, in the ad hoc sustainability?
Yeah, it's been kicked around for, I wanna say almost 10 years, maybe longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's filling the donut hole, it's their thing,
I remember when we were brainstorming lots of big ideas, that was the biggest restriction. We couldn't get anything done because there was no substation near enough to us. I was just wondering, maybe I'm misremembering, but I'm just wondering what that allows us to do if that substation is now in, or fab ideas that could be.
I was gonna say, it's
in the past.
definitely not in yet. There's
Right.
a lot boxes to check. So, I don't think that helps as far as, you know, considering a solar array outside of the village or something of that sort. But it may, I guess, depending on, because it may take some portions away from the existing one. But I'm definitely not an engineer, and I'm not part of Alliance organization, so I have no idea. I'd turn to you.
I don't know much at this point in time. Just that talks have been had to see if that site is viable. There's a lot of environmental constraints on there
right.
and the access point as well. So,
Right.
as well as the landowner would have to agree to it.
We
Right.
talked about it in Utilities Commission. If you are interested in going back to the minutes and
Okay.
videos and looking at it, it's riveting.
I bring it up just because we have the solar arrays now, and I don't want to lose momentum. So, is here what else we can do? Essentially, just want to put that in everyone's forefront.
Anything else? Otherwise, we're at item 11.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? We're adjourned. Thanks.
Take care, Larry.
Thank you.
Have a good night, Larry.
You as well. I'm gonna go to the Olympics.